question from Ryan.
Should the state take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions? If so, how? And do you support the Cape Wind project?
Mr. Dunford.
Thank you. I believe the state is working hard on greenhouse gas emissions. I noticed that as we are looking at new projects, particularly the town of Orleans is moving forward with a wastewater management project and possibly looking at a new septic plant in the Tri-Town area. That an important part of that in terms of getting permitting is the effect on greenhouse gases and how will this project remediate greenhouse gas issues. So I think that is important to be a part of things. I think we have to be reasonable on what that does and not be overwhelmed. But that should be a consideration because clearly we want to be managing that. In terms of Cape Wind, bottom line is I'm against Cape Wind. Again, I'm an economist. I look at the numbers. I delve into the numbers. I want to be sure that every dollar that is spent, particularly in public projects or up in Boston, is spent and spent the right way. Cape Wind is an expensive, I'll use the term, but it's a boondoggle. A couple $1 billion project, well over $1 billion in subsidies. It's going to increase the cost of electricity to everyone out here in the Cape and everyone here in the state. A couple dollars a month anyway, another tax. It's going to increase the cost of electricity for small businesses in the thousands of dollars. It's the wrong project at the wrong time, not the appropriate thing to do.
Ms. Peake.
Thank you for that question. Excuse me. I do support the state taking steps to reduce greenhouse gases. In fact, I was proud to vote for the Green Communities Act, not this current session, but in the past session, that offers tax and economic incentives for things like, well, let's say, we've all heard about it in the news, the solar panels that Cape Air put on their hangar down in Barnstable. For renewable energy projects like that, for homeowners who want to put solar panels on their roofs to wean themselves off of the grid and away from fossil fuels and be able to heat and power their own homes or their own businesses with renewable energy. In addition, I've been a big supporter of the Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority, specifically the Flex Bus. Those buses that we have purchased through the Cape Cod National Seashore are run on propane, and they are fuel efficient and also designed to reduce greenhouse gases. I think as in the public sector, that is the direction that we need to go in and to move in order to reduce totally our greenhouse gases. On Cape Wind, interestingly, as a legislator, I never have and never will have an opportunity to vote on that. It's a federal issue in federal waters. It's the governor and the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs who have signed off on the permit, but I do share the concerns about what has happened to the ratepayers. And that's what happens when you don't have a government structure in place to regulate these. That's why it's important as a state. We have our Oceans Act, which we'll never be caught making it up as we go along the way we've had to with Cape Wind.
Thank you. Next question from Tyler.
Would you support any reforms of our state legislature? For example, to reduce the power of the legislative leadership?
Ms. Peake.
Sure, and I have supported reforms already. We've supported pension reform, we've stopped pension abuses, we have tightened up ethics reforms for ourselves and all other elected and appointed officials. Absolutely. We have already trimmed the wings of leadership, so to speak. Although we don't have term limits for elected officials, we do have term limits for the Speaker of the House. Gone are the days when a speaker could be there for years and years. We have a 3-term limit now in how many times the speaker can be elected or re-elected by the membership. And I think that that's important to do. Recently, the House and the Senate, we have redesigned the mass.gov/LEGIS website. So you can go there now. For example, you can click on my name and instantly it shows you all of the bills that I have filed and all of the bills that I have co-sponsored. It used to be, and this was horrible, you had to ferret around this complex, old, draconian-style website. Even I, as a legislator, for me to get information about what information is up and coming and pending on the calendar, it was a great burden. under this Speaker DeLeo, we have taken giant steps forward, and of course, there's always more to be done. What I am fighting for in particular is for a let the sun shine in on legislative expenditures. You know, we just had our website redesigned. I want that information to be out there in the public. I want to know and insist that that goes out to public bid. I want to know how much it costs. I want to know who did the job, so that if then I or anybody wants to, we can look and see if there's a connect the dots between campaign contributions and getting a job with the state. We need to let the sun shine in.
Mr. Dunford.
Thank you. I think next to jobs and job creation, this is the most important issue that certainly voters expressed to me. The lack of trust. The number of voters out there that have said, I don't trust any politicians. I don't like any of them. What's wrong here? This is wrong. And a lot of that is fostered by the atmosphere that has been coming from Peake and Hill. Yes, I would be advocating many reforms. One, I would like to see the legislature actually subject to review by the state auditor. That is not. It's exempt. That's a pretty nice situation. If you look at the ethics that has occurred, you know, we've had 3 successive speakers that have been indicted, and what has come out of that and other ethics issues, and ethics and open meeting law, the ethics part having no teeth whatsoever. The open meeting law, which was asked towns to open up their meetings, being sure they have minutes that thick, and they're posted, adding costs to towns to be sure that they are open meetings. Well, the legislature exempted themselves from that part of the bill. What is wrong with this? This is not imperial up there. So I would put teeth into ethics, and I would put teeth into open meeting laws that really make a difference and open things up. Everything up on Beacon Hill is done in the back room. Importantly, I think finally, I am an advocate of term limits for legislators. I think it's important that we have citizen legislators, not professional legislators up there on Beacon Hill, there to serve you.
Thank you. Garrett, next question.
Harwich Stan testified last term in favor of a bill to require genocide education in our state's high schools. Would you be willing to sponsor and/or support the reintroduction of that bill in the coming term?
I'm sorry, did that mean
There's a bill that our Stand activist group can help support, which would require genocide education in the state's schools. It was called the Teach Against Genocide bill.
Okay, I'm up.
Yes,
Thank you. I don't know the specifics of it, so I always like to read the bills before I say whether I will support or not. I think that's an important issue up on Beacon Hill, and most of the bills aren't read by many of the legislators. But I don't know the specifics of that bill. I will therefore respond in a general sense. I think there's no question that the important aspects of history and I think incidents of genocide are extremely important aspects of history, need to and should be part of a curriculum in our high schools and schools. I think it's important that we all be made aware of many of these horrendous events that have occurred in the past, so we don't repeat them.
Thank you. Ms. Peake.
Thank you. I have stood with students from Harwich High School in lobbying for, and ultimately I'm proud to say, voting for a piece of legislation that you came up and testified for, and that was the requirement that we divest our investments from Iran because of the human rights atrocities that are going there. You guys worked hard on that, and it is now law, that divestiture bill. I am a co-sponsor, was this last session, of the teaching of genocide in the classrooms, and I will continue to be a co-sponsor of it. I think it is very important. I stand shoulder to shoulder with my constituents and my colleagues in the legislature who are of Armenian descent, who are still struggling to get an official recognition, acknowledgement, and apology about the Armenian genocide. And unfortunately, when we're talking about genocide, there are too many instances of it for us to recall. And even more unfortunate is those instances aren't all 30, 40, and 50 years ago, but they continue today. They continue today as part of modern warfare. We see it in the Sudan. We saw it in Rwanda. And I think the only way to make it stop is through raising awareness and a good beginning right here in school. And I applaud the efforts of Harwich High School in this area.
At this time, we're going to go to concluding statements. So we'll start with Ms. Peake.
Great. Mr. Dixon, thank you again, and thank you for all of you for inviting me back here. It's always great to stand on this stage. I was never an actress in high school, so this is my one opportunity to stand on the stage, and I truly appreciate it. I ask for your vote on November 2nd so that I can keep working hard and fighting for you. My promise to you is that, as I have over the last 4 years, to be open and accessible to you, to listen to you, to learn from you, and then go to bat for you. Sometimes those fights happen right on Beacon Hill. For example, where I fight for local home rule bills, where we fight for increased funding for regional school transportation, where we fight to get laws passed that are beneficial to all of you. We fight for additional funding for Chapter 70. Sometimes those fights happen right here on Cape Cod, where I work with our fishermen and our shellfishermen to keep regulations in place that can keep them fishing and to fight back unfair fishing regulations. And sometimes those fights take me down to Alexandria, Virginia, where I'm a member of the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, where I am the legislator from Massachusetts who gets to be the voice and the person standing up for our fishing families on the Cape and throughout the Commonwealth. I'm proud of the battles we've won on fisheries issues, Open Cape, to make our tourism economy more robust, in support of our small businesses here on the Cape. And I ask for your vote so that I can keep working hard for you. Thank you.
Mr. Dunford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dixon. Thank you again to Harwich High School for setting this up. This is a wonderful, wonderful event. Again, I hope you will agree with me as to what the key fundamental concerns are today. They are very fundamental. Again, it's the loss of integrity and accountability on Beacon Hill. It's a lack of job creation. It's the high cost of living and the high taxes, the high cost of doing business in the state, the ever-expanding state regulations and mandates. If we don't address those, we're not going to really be able to address how much state aid we get. We need to address the key issues today. I think that's why I'm running. It is why I'm running this. I look at my opponent's voting record, which is important. This is what we have to address. That my opponent has voted for virtually every tax increase that has occurred over the last 3+ years. My opponent has voted for virtually all the budgets that have come out, which I think are particularly bloated. And particularly my opponent in terms of overrides that vetoes that the governor has tried to do in terms of reducing the budget. My opponent has voted for 37 out of 39 of those to override the governor, not to decrease the budget. And importantly, I think my opponent has voted for these indicted speakers that have come along. I think it's time to change. Send a message to Beacon Hill. I will change Beacon Hill. I will add my voice to really provide the fundamental basis for us to grow and to prosper here in the 4th Part School District on Cape Cod.
And please give a round of applause for both candidates. I'd like to thank the student panel, Ryan, Tyler, and Garrett. I'd like to thank our camera operator, Kathy Hannon, who's awesome. And I'd like to thank all of you for coming. The worksheets that you filled out, please hand those to your history teacher when you're done. And this is the end of activity block, so please go to your S block.